Welcome back to part 2 of tortilla soup. I just have a little bit of oil heating up over medium in the Dutch oven. And all these bits on the bottom are actually from frying the tortilla strips earlier. So just let the oil do its job and you can just gently move them up. They probably will stick a little, but no biggies. Once you add the other ingredients and give it a good stir, it'll get incorporated just fine. Alright, I pre-measured my ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and start with the onions. Some diced onions. We're going to saute these a little bit until they're nice and soft. And then I'm going to pop them into a blender with a can of diced tomatoes. That'll give the soup a nice, smooth texture. As I said, it was 100 degrees, maybe even more by now, because it does get hotter at this time of day, late afternoon. So if I'm speaking unclearly, it's because my brain is melting a little bit. I have lived in Washington for 16 years. I've spent a lot of time up here really in the last 20 years, and this is not the hottest summer on record in my experience, but it's certainly the hot days really do come on strong, and a lot of the buildings and homes in my neck of the woods they weren't built for these types of temperatures. They don't have proper insulation, and so for me it is not so much the sun rising, the light of the sun rising that wakes me in the morning. It's actually the feeling of the heat radiating from the ceiling because there is no insulation between the ceiling and the roof, and it just fills up like an oven. It's really interesting. But you know, all's good if you could get some fans and circulate them. I know a lot of people across the country are certainly experiencing heat to the same degree, so I don't mean to whine about it. It's just it's pretty intense. It's important to stay hydrated and seek shade, and really actually it's important to recognize some symptoms associated with heat exhaustion and even heat stroke. I did grow up in the desert, and I have had a couple of experiences with intense temperatures and no cover. I was doing some backpacking in the Four Corners Grand Canyon area, and yeah, hit a point where gosh, you literally see stars. And this one time, I think I was coming through Colorado, southern Colorado, southwestern, near Durango, and I knew I was going into a bit of a heat exhaustion situation, and I couldn't think about anything other than check into a hotel, get into a dark room, take not a cold shower. You don't want to put yourself in shock, but you take just kind of a lukewarm shower, and then you bundle up and drink water and rest. And so I was able to recover really quickly. I was on that. It was a solo trip, so that was the worst part of it. If it had gotten much more serious, I would have had to have checked into a hospital. But I was sure glad to have had that knowledge to take care of myself there. So take good care of yourselves out there. Drink your water. Yeah, that's looking about perfect. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and remove this pan from the heat. I'm going to go ahead and blend the onions up with the tomatoes. Be right back. Next time I don't think I will use this pot for this soup because it's heavy. Tough to take stuff out of there. And I'm just returning this back to the burner, but I don't want that to burn on there. So I'll give just a little more squish oil and go ahead and give this a little bit of a flavor. This is just mild diced green chilies and canned corn. Sometimes I will use hominy in place of the corn, and if I do that, I do not saute it like this. I just add it as if it was like a dumpling. And because of the chicken broth that I'm using was created from stock, bouillon cubes, and there's plenty of sodium in that, and so I am actually consciously not seasoning the layers of the ingredients. I didn't season. Ooh, you don't want that in a soup. That's not pleasant. While this is going, I'll give that a little whisk. I try to remove skin or any other little bits. Canned food is interesting. Sometimes there are funky bits in there. All right, I smell the corn. It's such a wonderful smell. Roasted corn. Smells like summertime. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the tomato onion puree. A little stir. Alright, now add the chicken stock. See how that thins it out? This recipe actually takes 3 quarts of chicken stock. And of course, if you're using a whole chicken, you could cook off the bones and make the stock and have all that ready to go and use the chicken meat in your soup. So if you have that kind of ingredient available, like, by all means, that's the way to do it. But this also works. Go ahead and bring that to a boil. Add some salt and pepper. And this soup is absolutely delightful, served with fresh avocado slices and shredded cheddar cheese and some lime wedges. You squeeze some juice of lime in here and welcome to flavor country. You top it with a little bit of, with the little tortilla chips, crushed tortilla chips, or the little toasted bits that I made in the previous video. I can smell the onions. So it's not supposed to be a thick soup, certainly. So you can see that it kind of marries nicely. So it's just kind of light and velvety. It's so refreshing in the hot summertime. I sure hope I mentioned cilantro. If you can get your hands on some fresh cilantro, you want to chop that up nice and finely, and then you could add it to the soup directly, or sprinkle a little bit of fresh on top as well. So I think that's kind of getting to a nice spot. Last ingredient, that's a cup of chicken. And it's canned chicken, actually. I thought I'd give it a try in this recipe. You can go anywhere up to 2 cups or as much chicken as you really want. You can slice it or dice it, but I just was going to give this a try. And that's also some minced garlic. Go ahead and add this. And then get that to a boil. I'm actually going to cover it and simmer for about an hour, stirring occasionally. Do enjoy. Do give this one a try and add your own freshness to it.